Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar on prioritizing your UX investment for business impact. The webinar is also intended to provide an overview of UXimpact, an AnswerLab solution designed to do just what the title suggests. My name is Dave Babs, and I'm a newly hired Vice President of Business Development who's focused on bringing this innovative solution to the marketplace. I will play the role of moderator throughout the webinar. First, some general housekeeping items. Today's webinar will run about 30 minutes. In the interest of time, all attendees will be muted. We will save time at the end for questions. Please use the Q&A box if you have a question, and we will do our best to get to all of them. All attendees of today's webinar will also have a copy of this presentation and a fact sheet of UXimpact emailed to them electronically. Before we get into the real substance of today's topic, I did want to provide a brief background on AnswerLab and on today's speaker. Over the past decade, AnswerLab's mission has been to improve the digital world. It has done so by delivering trusted customer insights that have helped the world's leading brands build outstanding digital products and services. Today, AnswerLab is the largest independent research firm focused exclusively on user experience research. We focus on user experience research to understand what people see, do, think, and feel when using websites, mobile applications, and other digital products. Through hundreds of research engagements involving thousands of users, AnswerLab has developed a suite of research solutions for every phase of the product development cycle, helping our clients to plan, optimize, and measure the impact of innovative work. We come recommended by Forrester as a leader in UX research, are regularly published in UX Magazine and Quirk's Market Research Magazine, and recently partnered with Google to better understand mobile user needs. Our work together resulted in a white paper entitled 25 Principles of Mobile Design, was published by Google, and was shared at their recent I/O conference. I'm also very excited to introduce today's presenter, our very own CEO, Amy Buckney-Chowdhury. Amy is a recognized leader in UX research and is passionate about today's topic. She has appeared in numerous publications, including UX Magazine, and has her own column on Inc.com. She is notably the first CEO from the user experience research industry to be named by Ernst & Young as one of the top 10 entrepreneurial winning women. Prior to co-founding AnswerLab, Amy served as Director of Professional Services at Vifidence, now Keynote. At this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Amy.
Thank you so much for the great introduction, Dave, and I'm looking forward to talking with all of you today. Today I'm going to take us through four kind of key areas about UX impact. First, we're going to talk about the business impact of user experience and why it's so important to measure it. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our user experience UX impact solution with data collection and our analytical approach. And then we'll talk more about what UX impact can do for you. And then finally, Dave will follow up with some key questions that are coming in from those who are on the line. So we really want to start by talking about user experience, why it's so important, and why user experience requires more than just monitoring of data. We all know that most digital companies really understand that user experience plays a critical role in achieving business objectives. User experience that supports customers' goals will ultimately improve the bottom line. So for example, as you can see here, if 100,000 users come to your digital properties and 30,000 of them have an intent to purchase, but only 6,000 of them can complete the task, well, what happened? Well, you may be able to attribute their lack of purchase and your loss of over $1 million in potential revenue to a failed user experience. So that's really where we want to focus. We want to focus on this user experience zone and remove as many barriers to conversion that we possibly can. So how do you do that? Well, there's no shortage of data to monitor your digital properties. Our clients tell us they're inundated with data. And like our clients, I'm sure you have access to web analytics and voice of the customer data to monitor how your sites are doing. And we know that you want the user experience to support your business goals. But when these data sources really identify an area of concern. For example, as you see here, a falling conversion rate. The hard part is really determining why, what to fix, and how to fix it. And as critical as the data may be in revealing problems, it just really can't prescribe and prioritize solutions to user experience challenges. So we've heard repeatedly that the data doesn't give enough direction on what to do to improve the user experience of digital properties. So we interviewed user experience leaders at Fortune 500 companies because we wanted to understand more about their challenges. And they told us a couple of key things. First, they told us there are many solutions to identify UX solutions, but none explain how to fix them. They also told us they want a holy grail. They want to know specifically what to do, and they want to be able to demonstrate the value of user experience with bottom line business metrics. And then finally, they told us they need to know what's the problem, how big is this problem, and why is this a problem, and how do I even resolve it? So based on our 10 years of advising digital brands on how to improve their user experiences, and based on these challenges that we've heard from user experience leaders, we identified 4 best practices for improving the user experience of your digital products and for how to measure them. So first, we've really identified that you've got to get customer input at the right time. You've got to ask customers for feedback while they experience your digital property. Find out why they visited. Did they achieve their goals? How do they rate the experience? And they need to be able to give you really verbatim comments and opportunities to explain why they're having the experience that they have. And it has to be right when they're having the interaction. If you ask customers about their experience well after, their memories are very foggy. The second best practice is that you have to read and analyze these comments really in the context of your business. Open-ended comments that come from voice of the customer data really can provide rich, actionable information, but only if they're analyzed by people who understand your industry, your business goals, and if they understand the world of UX. Word counts and robotic analysis and clouds, they really miss meaning and nuance, and it's important to have user experience experts really helping you understand what these things mean. And the third best practice is to prioritize. Not all customer feedback really has the same impact on your business goals. You need a way to rate, score, and calculate the relative importance of all of the insights you're going to find from customers so that you'll know which ones are going to most impact your business goals. And then finally, a best practice we identified is how important it is to measure the change over time. It's so easy to get caught up in the cycle of iterating and constant updates, but it's important to just let the dust settle and measure the impact of your user experience to your bottom line. So AnswerLab stepped back, and we understood all of these best practices, and we understood the gap that exists today for clients in looking at their data, and we built a solution to solve the problem. And that solution is UXimpact. It measures your user's digital experience and delivers an evidence-based recommendation set to improve it. It starts by revealing and diagnosing problems. It then moves on to recommend solutions to the issues that have the most significant impact to your business goals, and then it measures the resulting impact of these changes on your user experience and on your business goals so you know you've made a real difference. So we believe that to improve conversion rates and performance on business objectives like brand impression, you really need to understand what your users' intended goals were, and you need to assess the user experience that leads to their success and failure on those goals. We need to get to the root cause of the problems and understand exactly what to fix and how to fix it. And by understanding users' intentions and examining their feedback, UXimpact gives us a real thorough and objective assessment of the digital user experience. So let's talk a little bit about this product and how we approach getting the data and how we approach analyzing that data to give you real solid recommendations. First, you should know that we collect data through an intercept survey methodology. We want to intercept people while they're on your digital properties. And we ask them if they'd like to answer a few questions after their visit. They continue with their experience on your website, and then we follow with some key questions. And those questions collect why were people coming, What was their task success? What was their specific ratings of their experience? And what are some of business outcome measures like likelihood to purchase and what they think of your brand? But most importantly, the survey gives lots of opportunities for users to your site to give an open-ended feedback to their key measures to explain a lot of their rationale behind them. So once we have all this data, we have a great deal of quantitative metrics and we have a great deal of commentary from customers. Then we take a very unique analysis approach. If we first start looking at the quantitative UX measures collected through the survey and see what it means. What do these user experience metrics mean? What are people saying about your brand? And then we do a driver analysis to understand which of these user experience challenges might be compromising business outcomes. And we couple that with a very in-depth investigative analysis of user comments by UX experts who know your business constraints, they have experience in your industry, and they understand UX best practices. And through these analyses, we get to the why behind your data and to the very specific recommendations to help you move the dial on the UX measures that are most important to you. So the result is actually a very customized, prioritized user experience action plan that helps you ensure your digital properties are achieving your business goals. So I'll take you some of these report deliverables shortly, but before that, I'd really like to talk through what kinds of use cases there are for this research solution. UXimpact can really be thought of as an ongoing program or a point-in-time solution. The ongoing program involves a persistent intercept survey that continuously monitors iterative changes to your digital properties. It's really best used for companies who want early identification of UX issues, and they want to be tracking trends or marketing opportunities on their websites. And these are really for companies that tend to have a series of changes that are happening to their sites over a period of time. A point-in-time solution is more of an on-demand before-after intercept survey solution for planning for and measuring major overhauls or significant changes to infrastructure and navigation and hierarchy or branding within your digital properties. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of each. So if we're talking about the ongoing program, it's great for identifying and diagnosing user experience issues before they have negative effects on the business. It results in a prioritization and recommendations of iterative site changes that can have the biggest impact on the bottom line. And it involves continually measuring and comparing the user experience to the baseline so you can reveal the impact of these changes. Now, the point-in-time solution, the benefits involve identifying and diagnosing user experience issues prior to a redesign, and then we prioritize and recommend site changes that will have the biggest impact. And then after the redesign, we measure and compare the user experience to reveal the impact as well. So think of this as what kinds of changes are you having to your site? What kind of seasonality do you have to your site? Are there lots of changes and we should be measuring on an ongoing basis? And if there's one major planned overhaul, then a point-in-time solution probably makes more sense. So what kind of insights can you get from this in more practical terms? I thought it'd be helpful to show you some examples of our deliverables that come out in a workshop form when we're done analyzing the results of your study. First, you should know that UXimpact's reports are really customized for each client to reveal and diagnose the problems that might be preventing them from achieving their business outcomes. This particular slide shows what a report deliverable would look like to help reveal UX issues around areas of utility, usability, performance, engagement, intelligence, and visual design. And it shows how you're performing over time, highlights key areas of concern, and then it explains, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, the reason behind what's happening on the website. So it's really important for us to be partnered very closely with our clients in understanding what are changes that they're making on the site over time and how they may be reflected in the data that we're seeing. This next slide here is from a point-in-time UXimpact program. And you can see that this client's initial baseline test is showing 5 main user problems and frustrations that customers may give you in the context of interacting with the site. And then, most importantly, I mentioned earlier that we really drill down and spend time reading comments. And we do this in the context of your website and understanding comments, how they tie back to specific tasks, how the comments tie back to specific areas of the site. And this is done by user experience researchers who are experts in the world of UX. They do this in the context of knowing you and your business constraints because we've partnered closely together. And they also do this by having a great deal of insight on industry best practices. So the result is that we start to give you the very specific why behind the ratings that you've seen before. And so as you can see on the slide, the insights now identify really specific user experience issues, as you see on this page, and issues being identified of how users are going in to configure a car here and the difficulty that they're having comparing trim levels. It shows a screenshot with the area of concern. It includes the quotes from the users explaining the problem they're having at this level. And then it includes a really specific expert-based recommendation on how to fix this problem. And most importantly, there's some context to this problem. It's not any old problem. It's a legend here showing you how much this issue is really impacting your business goals. And when we work with you on UXimpact, we customize these business goals to be what's important to you. In the case of this customer, it was likelihood to purchase and the overall feeling of the brand. So when we uncover the why behind the ratings and we have very specific areas to address and recommendations, we need now to give some context of how important it is to address all of these. And so every single issue we find, we then prioritize into improvements that will have the absolute biggest impact on the business. So consider this slide you see here as your UX action plan. It ties each recommended change to a very specific business outcome. And this slide shows our top 10 recommended changes for a client. The driver analysis is what helped us understand which of these changes would have the impact on conversion and brand. And so now we have a roadmap. Coming out of each quarterly report, we have a roadmap. The client has a roadmap of knowing which of the 10 areas they should be prioritizing and investing more of their resources. But once you've made those investments, you need to be able to track them over time. So we measure this impact overall. And we define with you what the key areas are that you would like to track in terms of business goals. For this client, as I mentioned before, it was conversion and brand and user experience. And you can see how these indices track over time. And we provide the rationale for how these are changing over time and why we're seeing increases or decreases across the digital properties of both desktop and mobile. And finally, all of these measures roll up into one UXimpact score, which gives you a quantitative, objective evidence of the effect that your changes are having on your user's experience and your business outcomes. We track this across digital properties. And here you can see for this example client that the mobile UXimpact score is trailing dramatically behind the desktop scores. And we uncover why. And in this case, it's because of the lack of offers and promotional content that users really wanted to see on the mobile site. So to summarize, UXimpact really enables you to follow UX measurement best practices. It gets customer input at the time of their interaction. It prioritizes areas to address by their impact on your business. It involves UX experts who evaluate customer comments in the context of your business and your industry, and it then measures the change that results from your investments in improving your digital properties. It really truly gives a complete roadmap and program to ensure that your customers' needs are being met time and time again. And it also gets you to the elusive why behind web analytics and VOC data so you can understand how to prioritize UX investments and ultimately ensure your team achieves its digital business goals. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dave, who will facilitate some questions from everyone on the line.
Thanks so much, Amy. We're happy at this point in time to take some questions from those who are participating in the webinar. It looks like we have a question that's come in. How is UXimpact different from other solutions out there?
Okay, great. Well, so we talked earlier about the fact that many of our clients have mentioned that they have a lot of trouble getting to the why behind their data and specific ways and recommendations on how to fix some of the problems that they're seeing with their existing solutions. So the difference is that UXimpact is really recommendation focused. It's designed to help you, first off, reveal UX issues that are preventing you from achieving a business goal. Number two, know exactly what changes to make. And number three, measure the impact over time. There really isn't an alternative, I think, on the market right now that delivers against these three benefits. They typically don't have prioritized recommendations, and they typically don't have user experience experts who've had 10 years of experience, in both qualitative and quantitative lab settings, really digging into the comments to understand what the true meaning is for your business. And they typically don't have analysts who are experts in your industry or even experts in your business because they've partnered with you for a long period of time and have really done the good work to understand what your goals are. So to kind of summarize, AnswerLab's UXimpact solution isn't really a technology solution that just takes a look at your website or your mobile site performance with a pulse and just data. And it's not really a rigid model based on only satisfaction. It's about getting you the consultative, recommendations-based insights you need to have true impact.
Great. Thanks so much, Amy. Looks like a couple of other questions have come in. A question from the audience. Every provider says they'll deliver actionable insights, and I've been disappointed by them. How will you deliver on the promise of actionable insights?
Okay, well, great. So, UXimpact, as I said before, is not about data and dashboards. It's not about just turning survey data into a model and spitting out some kinds of results. It's a very consultative approach. We start by making sure we're measuring your business outcomes. So the specific study that we put together in the questionnaire design is tailored to your business. It's not a model that you have to fit into that isn't tied to how you want to measure your user experience. And then we apply, as I mentioned before, real experts to understand the why behind the data that comes back to it. And another important thing to say is, the driver analysis doesn't just deliver, a list of high correlations or data that we're ranking. We want to apply some smarts to that, and we want to apply our expertise to prioritizing the things that we know are even realistic within your industry or even realistic within your business. So, it's actionable because we're applying smart thinking and a really strong UX research team to make the data and the comments sing.
Terrific. Another question has come in. Is this a technology application or a service?
That's a great question. So ultimately, there is a technology that enables us to intercept users on your website and on your mobile site and tablet site. We all need technology to be able to host and monitor surveys, but it's ultimately AnswerLab's service and our consulting team who are making sense of that. So the end deliverables are reports and workshops and sessions, consultative sessions where we talk together as a team about how we're going to move to the next stage and where there may be follow-up questions that we need to drill down into. So I would say it's very different from other solutions on the market that are just about a dashboard and simply getting a piece of technology.
Are there any other questions from those on the phone? It looks like we have another question. How many people do you intercept on my site?
Great tactical question. Intercept rates really vary based on traffic and response rates. So we want to monitor response rates really closely and adjust the intercept rate to ensure we're able to get the target sample size at the end of the fielding. So we typically keep the intercept rate under 20% to avoid a lot of visitor annoyance. But if there is a problem with response rate where maybe you have less traffic on the site, we'll work with your team to troubleshoot and suggest alternatives to get the best sample size.
Thanks very much, Amy. It looks as if that's all the time we have for questions today. If you think of a question after the webinar, please feel free to email me directly at dbabst@answerlab.com. Thank you all very much for your time today, and have a wonderful day.